Today we're going to be talking about the legalization of marijuana. My name is Matthew Sweeney.
My name is Jason Rosas.
My name is Kevin McFarland.
My name is Sharif Ahmad. Our topic of discussion today is, should the use of marijuana be legalized in the United States?
Okay. Marijuana is a drug that is derived from the cannabis plant, and it was brought to the Americas in the early 1600s. And it's been used ever since for medical reasons and use of euphoria. Starting in the early 20th century, marijuana has been banned in the U.S. under the Pure Food and Drug Act. And later in the 20th century, marijuana was legalized in California under the Compassionate Use Act for medicinal and recreational methods, making it the first state to legalize marijuana. Later on, as more recent, marijuana has been legalized in Colorado for medicinal and recreational use in 2014, and since then it's been linked to many health benefits.
So health benefits. There's a lot of health issues in the U.S. and marijuana has been legalized in 29 states in total. 20 of those states have legalized marijuana for medical purposes, and the other 9 states have legalized marijuana for recreational use. So some of the three main health issues that people have is glaucoma and opioid overdosage and cancer. So glaucoma is a disease that people have which increases the pressure in the eye, which can lead to blindness. And marijuana helps this health issue out by reducing the pressure in the eye and slowing down the process, and by them for getting help. Overdosage of opioids. So there's been 55% of deaths by opioids, which is the overdoses by prescribed medicine that is given to them by their pharmacists or doctors. 55% of the opioid deaths have been caused by painkillers. And over the time when marijuana was legalized in the states or for medical purposes, the deaths have decreased by 25% the first year, and then additional 20% the second year, 24 the third year, and at last 33 the fourth year. Marijuana has also been tested for the cure for cancer. There's a cell called it's a ID1 cell, which causes the process for cells to reproduce. And when cancer cells control over this cell, they tend to spread out and take control over the body, which causes the person to suffer and feel in pain and have many other health issues. Marijuana helps them out by stopping the ID1 cells, which means that the cancer cells that have control over them can't longer reproduce them.
The legalization of marijuana will also impact the economy in several ways. The first way it will impact it is through government expenditure. The government spends approximately $7.7 billion each year on the prohibition of marijuana usage and possession. With marijuana legalization laws, the government will be $7.7 billion rich, essentially. It will also create a flourishing legal marijuana market, which will lead to the establishment of dispensaries and marijuana businesses all around the U.S. And this will lead to more jobs and less unemployment rates around the U.S. and more economic revenue, as a study in 2015 in Colorado showed that there is approximately $2.7 billion extra dollars because of marijuana markets throughout Colorado. However, it's not as good as it seems. There are negative impacts. One negative impact would be in workplace productivity, because more and more people would essentially use marijuana because it's legalized. You would see more and more people under the influence during their work hours, and it will contribute to less productivity. Now, the benefits do outweigh the negatives, but there are also risks associated with the use of marijuana, which we will get into.
Two of the most prominent risks that are associated with marijuana are linked to crime rates and the belief that it is a gateway drug. In the 1940s to 1950s, a man named Harry Anslinger heavily demonized the drug, even testifying in front of Congress that it was a dangerous drug that causes in its users insanity and death. And this is just not true because it has been seen in states that have already legalized it, the annual rates of rape, theft, sexual assault, and other felonies have gone down because they use it, because the individuals use it as an alternative to heavy narcotics and binge drinking. And the belief that it is a gateway drug has been heavily dispersed in our society because most hardcore drug users use marijuana before they use any other drug, but it is not true that it is a gateway drug because most people who smoke marijuana do not even continue smoking marijuana.
So this brings us back to our original question of, should the use of marijuana be legalized in the United States? After conducting heavy research, our group has concluded that yes, marijuana should be legalized. For both its health benefits and its economic benefits, the legalization of marijuana can essentially alter the landscape of America. We have also concluded that in the event that marijuana is legalized, a state tax should be placed to increase government revenue, as well as the legalization age should be 25, as the brain stops maturing and growing at the age of 25.
But our answer does have possible shortcomings. No scientific evidence have shown links between marijuana and harmful effects, but that does not mean that one does not exist. So there is a chance that if nationwide acceptance and legalization happens, that crime rates or drug dependencies will go up. But we do not believe it will, and as a group we still believe it should be legalized.
And our sources.
Okay. So, thank you guys. Alright, so having finished your project, Kevin, what, if anything, do you consider to be the gap in your team's research? And if addressed, would make you feel more confident about your conclusion?
Okay, I want to agree with what Matthew said. I think that when we think about the risk, that there scientifically is there's no findings saying linking marijuana and like health issues. So I think that the biggest thing is if we could actually have the scientific evidence backing it up, that would really just change it'd make it harder for us to argue. But I think that since we don't yet have any link, it makes our argument better.
Okay. In what way did you improve your ability to work with a group as a result of this project, Harry?
Building off of what Kevin said, since there really is no concrete scientific evidence of the impacts of marijuana on like the body and the brain and stuff, I think that coming together and correlating all of our research into a presentation while still relaying an argument that makes sense and has like a good like source behind it was definitely like the best like mechanism in coming together, like working as a team.
Okay. So, Matt, can you describe how the content of the team's presentation was changed based on some group discussion?
The content. Well, when we first started to do research, we were looking to argue that marijuana should be legalized because basically there is just like no evidence. But as we went through it, we have seen there have been a lot of studies and that have given us information that they're not definitive, but they do give very good insight onto how marijuana affects us as individuals, and it really did that helped us.
Okay. Reflecting on your team members' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem your group identified?
So, wait, can you repeat it?
Yeah. Reflecting on your team members' work, which one of your team members had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem that you guys presented us today?
Well, we all kind of saw that our things were important, but I feel like the major one was Matthew's over the crime rates and the rape and the sexual abuse over people was a major one, because in today's society, like, that's like one of the biggest issues that there's been, and which leads us to like how it helps other people and how it helps them get better and how it helps them seek help for finding a better use of marijuana.
Okay, thank you guys.